impact. You said in the highlights in your report that there's limited fiscal room for the government to reduce revenues or increase program. Am I to take that the amount of spending undertaken from this budget has limited the government's ability to react to externalities?
So when we said that, it was based upon the government's definition and the widely used definition of fiscal sustainability. And that definition, as I mentioned earlier, is a stable or declining debt to GDP ratio. Based upon the numbers the government has in Budget 2025, in the long term, not in the medium term, but over the longer term, the government has published a longer term forecast that indicates that the debt to GDP ratio is effectively flat, declining a little bit over that period of time. So that's the question of sustainability. Your question gets into new territory, which is interesting, but I just wanted to draw the distinction, and because it seems to be where the government is going and where the IMF has gone with respect to fiscal space. So previously, the government's fiscal management in terms of dealing with shocks was economic shocks will happen that's potentially outside of the control of the government, and there will be additional room to deal with that because there has been a declining debt to GDP ratio over the preceding 7, 8, 9 years. That is no longer the case, and instead, the government's argument seems to be, and it's still not clear, and there hasn't been a parliamentary discussion around it, but it seems to be when the next economic shock comes, the federal government will take on additional debt and potentially stabilize that debt at a new and higher level. You can still be sustainable at a higher level of debt across the economy, and at the same time, consistent with the IMF research, the more debt you have and the more debt you're carrying, the greater the risk to the economy and to your financial management the next time there is a shock, and your ability to manage it and borrow debt at the rates that you want to.